Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mitchell Master, and today I want to talk about my persuasive speech as to why I believe the federal government, the U.S., should be allowed a direct hand on the influence of price negotiations for medicines by medical companies. Now, a brief history, I want to mention that the reason the U.S. government currently is not able to have a direct hand on price negotiations is because in the year 2003, the Medicare Modernization Act, or the MMA, was passed, in which, amongst the guidelines, it was said that the U.S. government is forbidden from having a direct hand when it comes to setting prices for certain medicines. Now, for the majority of this, we should be looking specifically on the EpiPen, because they have been known for price gouging very badly because of this. Because without direct intervention, certain companies, such as Milan, who bought out the EpiPen in 2007, have price gouged their things massively. As shown by the graph here, in 2007, the price of the EpiPen ejector was around $50 at a cost of production of around 10 to $30, which is pretty reasonable. However, by the next couple of years, they actually jacked up the prices to up to close to $600 while keeping cost of production down. And as stated by one Victor Blue at NBC in his article, the Milan CEO was actually brought into a court hearing in 2016, for which it turns out the company made profits of $1.1 billion per year because of the price hike, and the CEO's salary increased to $19 million, which was brought into question as to why it was a good idea to raise the prices. You see, but there is a way to avoid this, because as it turns out, countries such as Germany, the UK, and Canada actually have their own system in which they're able to allow their government to actually negotiate prices while not letting them have too much power and undermining the companies that sell them as well. There was an article posted by one James Robinson, Patricia Eggs, and Demetria Pertz, in which it is shown that for Germany, what they do is that the first thing they have to do is that the manufacturers have to come out with a list of prices that they want to put for their medicines. And then afterwards, the government, in which I believe we should follow suit, that the government ends up making a type of committee that's made up of both medical professionals and business professionals. That way, they'll be able to see all the prices and see which one not only has the most consumer friendly price tag, but also doesn't undermine the company so that the companies stay happy with their profits. Afterwards, these are passed along for a couple months, and then the prices become agreed upon. And then the next year following, that's what their medicines are going to cost. You see, the trick here is that they make these negotiations public knowledge, so that people like me, you, or some random schmo will be able to know what's going on and be able to know what prices to expect. This way, we'll be able to have a more direct voice in the matter, so that we don't just get thrown a curveball on price hiking. You see, the reason I want to bring this up because it does affect all of us in the end for these high prices. Because if we're young adults and we leave college, it's potential some of us may not even be under a medical insurance plan. And if something serious were to happen and we need a certain medicine, potentially we may be left high and dry because we won't be able to afford it because they keep raising it, which would be a very bad thing. The same could even be said for the elderly because since they're older, they'll be needing more medicines for certain illnesses and conditions. And because the amount of that, and most likely will be retired, they may not be able to keep affording to buy all of that at a steady pace, even with Social Security. So it affects us in the long run in the future. You see, I keep hearing counterpoints as to why we shouldn't let the government have that type of power. One point is similar to the 2003 MMA Act, in which they say we'll be giving the government too much power, that they may potentially even raise the prices higher than even the medical companies will. And another counterpoint even being that if they negotiate the prices, they may unintentionally undermine the companies and that'll cause them to pull back all their medicine products, leaving us high and dry and giving us nothing in return. Now you see, I see the points of that. I do. However, there are multiple counterpoints to counter that because of the fact of some of those conditions, some of those what ifs actually come from more extreme cases of things going bad. So you can't always assume that the most extreme case is going to happen all the time. Because let's take the thing with too much federal power. You see, if we follow Germany, Canada, and the UK's example of allowing the public to know these price negotiations, like again, we'll be able to have a more direct voice in the matter, and so we'll be able to actually speak out about it. And that way, they'll know the prices are unsatisfactory to the consumers. And the thing about them pulling back their medicines, listen, in the market, people want to become the next substitute. They want to come in and sweep up the numbers from other companies so that they'll be able to be the person that you go to for medicines. And I think it's actually possible because, as according to an article posted by one Maggie Fox and NBC, the FDA in around the mid to late 2010s actually a new substitute version of the EpiPen, which is very little in cost and cheap, but still provides the same thing. Now the names of these are the Adrenaclick and AviQ. And so because that will most likely be going to those medicines more for a generic EpiPen than, let's say, the high-end expensive Epi one, companies will realize we can't just leave people high and dry for too long because then they'll go to substitutes and now cut our own profits in the end as well. So you see, when it comes to proper monitoring and common sense, the process actually works. And there's actually a couple states in the U.S., such as Massachusetts, that actually has its own state level version of that, which so far has actually been working pretty well. From this speech, I want you to take away that there is a possibility that we can change how medical prices are done. And if you follow these models proposed by other countries, even because the thing is, in Germany, they're the highest in medical prices in Europe, but they're still even lower than the U.S. I hope you'll take the time to even contact Florida lawmakers at state level minimum, so that we'll be able to actually make new rules, new laws, or new regulations that will support this type of model. Thank you very much for listening in. My name is Mitchell Masu, and thank you.